Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Logical Nonsense Podcast, episode 103. What a crazy week. Luca traded to the Lakers, Kendrick sweeping the Grammys. I mean, can you ask for a better week? Wow, it was a crazy week. And now we got Honeybee Reviews, one of the best in the business. He's on the podcast. We're going to be talking about our Grammy Dubs and Snubs, as well as ending it with, is this rapper or hip hop artist in the Hip Hop Hall of Fame? Honeybee Reviews, how we doing today?
I'm stoked to be here, and you said it, man. Like, if you are a hip hop fan and specifically an NBA fan, which there's a lot of crossover
Yep.
usually, I mean, come on, man. The Grammys were
Yeah.
sick. This is
Yeah.
probably the craziest trade deadline that I
Oh
can
my
really
gosh.
remember in my life, honestly.
Crazy.
Um,
Crazy.
that
Yeah.
Luka trade, never seen anything like it. And then on top of that, there was like six or
Oh
seven
my
other
God. It
all-stars, I
just
think,
keeps
that are on
coming.
different
It
teams.
just
It's
keeps coming. Yeah.
it's
It's
crazy.
it's nuts, man. It's nuts. All right.
And
Well,
I just have to say, my Knicks didn't do anything stupid at this trade
yeah.
deadline,
Very
so we
true.
survived
Very
another
true.
year. Thank you, Leon Rose. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah. He's doing a good job up there. I like your guys' GM
He's
right now.
doing a
He's
great
making
job.
good, yeah, he's making some good moves.
Yeah, man.
All right, well, let's start first with just your overall thoughts on the Grammys, how you thought the award show went, what were, some of your highlights or lowlights that you would have liked to see improve?
So, like I was saying, with the NBA trade deadline, best I've ever seen. This Grammy show is the best that I also can remember in my
Yeah.
lifetime. Like,
It was really good.
it
It was
was
really good.
really good. It was really good, and I don't know what has changed, but most of the winners I either agreed with or at least understood.
Yeah,
Sometimes
exactly.
it's just like how did this person win? But this year there wasn't really any of that for me, and so I had a great time. I thought the performances were awesome.
Yeah.
And I liked a lot of the winners. I liked how they did a lot of cool stuff as far as donating and contributing to those displaced by the wildfires
Yeah.
in California.
They really,
Um,
really went after that
and
throughout
so
the
that was cool. Yeah, like I
yeah.
I don't have any complaints really. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a really great show. My girlfriend and I watched it, and it was a fun show. Like I feel like Grammys are long. Like I think people forget how long the Grammys are. I think it's what a three
Yeah,
hour show.
I forget
Mm.
every year, low key.
Like it's. I mean, I watched the whole thing. Like I was engaged. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I want to shut this off or anything
Yeah,
like that. The performances, like you said, I thought were really good. And yeah, overall, I just thought it was a really interesting year for music. And
it
um,
was. Yeah,
even the genres that I never really talk about on this show that I was like really interested to see like who won from those categories too. So, all right, well, let's get into Grammy dubs. What is your first Grammy dub?
the first Grammy dub has to go to Kendrick Lamar,
Yeah,
right? Like, I
yeah,
mean, he was the biggest winner, really in 2024 and at the Grammys.
yep,
So, and his Grammy success kind of just reflects that, but not like us sweeping all five categories that it was in.
yeah,
Kendrick winning five out of his seven nominations, but
yeah,
technically the other two nominations were for Like That, and we're going up against Not Like Us, so it's not like he could have won those anyway. So
yeah,
for my money's worth, clean sweep for Kendrick. And I don't know, does that
yeah.
just solidify his year for you? I think it does for me.
Yeah, deservedly so, right? I mean, both you and I, both I believe, gave him Artist of the Year in our award show. And so to see him really get that recognition at the Grammys was just awesome. There was so many songs this year that I felt like really took the world by storm. When they were reading off Song of the Year, Record of the Year, I was like, oh my God, he's got some tough ones
Yeah,
going
for
against
real.
him. But I was rooting for him, as a hip hop head, as well as just a Kendrick fan in general. And it's just crazy. I continue to go back to this. Like, it's crazy that a diss track has gotten this big. A diss
Yeah,
track can win you 5 Grammys. Like, that is
I
just
know.
nuts, absolutely insane. He was my first Grammy dub as well. I mean, I don't know how you could not give him Grammy dub. It was a huge win for hip hop. It was a huge win for Kendrick Lamar, and it was just at a national stage to go up against such heavy hitters and to still come up on top. I felt like was a huge win for him. Um, and I was really excited because it genuinely is a really good song. So
It is, yeah. Um, my second winner would have to go to Beyonce.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the most nominated Grammy artist ever. She also has the most Grammy wins ever. It just blows my mind that she had never won an album of the year before this year.
Yep.
And so I made a video about it, and I had a lot of people in the comments that kind of were a little up in arms about it. How I was responding to them was by saying, you know what? There may be albums that I actually prefer that were nominated for album of the year,
Yeah.
but Cowboy Carter is good enough to win, and Beyonce was long overdue. So for me, like a combination of those two things, I'm not mad at all, and I'm actually really happy for it because I think it's well deserved.
Definitely. Definitely. What did you think about her getting country album of the year? I know there's been a lot of controversy on that. I want
There
to hear
has been.
your take on that. Obviously, everyone's playing. Of course, it's one of the only songs that doesn't sound like super country, right? Yeah, I want to get your take on the not really a country album
Yeah. Well,
take.
I'm in Utah. There's a lot of country music here, a lot of
Yep.
country music fans. So I've been hearing it all, just talking with
Oh yeah.
friends and stuff like that. I am not mad at it. A lot of people fail to understand that if you win album of the year, you usually win the subgenre category that you're nominated for too, right? Like it would be a little odd if she won album of the year but
Yeah.
didn't have the best country album.
Yep.
Um, and although it may not be the most historical country
Yep.
sounding album that was nominated, it definitely was country themed, and there are a lot of country music elements. Like the
Yeah.
storytelling is fantastic on the album. There's a lot of acoustic guitar, things like that, and I don't have a problem with it. I know people do, but I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I want to hear your take on that. Obviously, a lot of controversy with that and a lot of country fans who are upset with it, especially those traditional country fans. So,
Yeah, and the albums that were nominated with her, I mean, they're really good. Like the Lainey Wilson album was great. Chris Stapleton had a good album.
yep.
Even Post Malone had a good album, I
Yep.
thought. But I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I don't really have a problem with it, honestly, especially because she won album of the year. If she didn't win album of the year and won country album of the year, then maybe people would have a little bit more reason to be
Yeah.
upset, I think. But because she won album of the year, it's just kind of a given.
Yeah, definitely. All right, what's your third Grammy dub?
Definitely has to go to Doechii. She had
Yep.
a fantastic year. She won Rap Album of the Year for a mixtape, and as she stated on the stage, accepting the award with her mom, which was such a cool moment. She is only the third ever female artist to win in that category, just
Yep.
behind Lauryn Hill and Cardi B. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I never gave my Grammy dub number 2, I just realized, but that was my dub number 2,
Okay,
and
there we go.
not only I mean, I think it's huge just what she's done at an artist level and her album that she released. I mean, it's a great album. It's in my playlist all the time. She's so talented, but I also loved her performance. I thought her performance was super incredible,
Yeah,
showing what she can do like as a performer. I felt like was just like the cherry on top because at that point I believe she had already won the award. So for her to kind of almost do a victory lap on stage, I felt like was just like the perfect like cherry on top moment for her. And I feel like, if people hadn't heard of Doechii before, they're definitely checking her out after the Grammys,
yeah,
after her
absolutely.
performance,
Yeah.
because I mean, it was just incredible what she did on stage. And it was a huge dub for her. I think she's just going to continue to get better. And I'm so excited to see what she does next because I think the limelight's on her, the stage is set for her. I think her creativity is just going to continue to blossom. So I'm super excited. I mean, she was also the only other thing, I don't know if it's a snub necessarily because there was a lot of new artists, but I think it would have been cool to also see her win new artist.
That'd be
Um
cool. Yeah.
Obviously she didn't get it. But if she would have, I think, that would have been just,
It would have been a little bit of,
yeah.
icing on top, right,
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
cake,
exactly.
'cause
We're
that's kinda
talking
like
ice
the
cream
main
here,
category.
maybe a little chocolate sauce. I don't know, but
Yeah,
it
the
would have been
fuzz that you
nice.
mean. I'm not too mad because I'm also a huge Chappell Roan fan, so,
Yeah,
I totally understand it. I think it does bring up the question, like, how is she gonna respond after such a strong mixtape, with her debut album? How's she gonna follow it up? and I agree with you. She is on a certain level of creativity that not many artists are on. So I think she's going to deliver, but the world's definitely going to be watching. And that performance specifically convinced me I'll spend any dollar amount to go see a Doechii show
Oh,
whenever
totally.
she's nearby because
Totally.
I am missing out.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, she's a great performer. So I'm super excited. My third dub here was actually for a progressive R&B album, Why Laud.
Yes, sir.
I felt like that was a great pick. You know, I know you're a huge fan of that album, your hip hop album of the year, and I feel like that was just a really great moment for Anderson .Paak to get another Grammy, because I believe is that in second or in third?
I'm not sure, but
I know
he definitely.
No Bubbling has a Grammy. That's
Oh,
the
really?
only other one. Yeah, which I'm actually really happy about because that song's freaking
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, I think Why Laud was glad to see the recognition that it deserved. Honestly, probably should have gotten more recognition than just a one Grammy, but
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
we'll take our W's when we can. So,
Yeah. Well, that's a
all
great
right,
pick.
all right, let's go to. Do you have any other Grammy dubs before I go to
I
Snubs?
do have one, and it's for the Beatles winning
Oh
Best
yeah,
Rock Performance. That song Now and Then is really cool because it is, I'm assuming, probably the first song to openly use AI in its completion to win a
yeah,
Grammy. Just because it's such a new thing, I'm sure it probably is. I don't. You might have to fact check me on that.
yeah.
But they used AI to isolate John Lennon's vocals that were recorded in like the 60s because they were a little staticky. And so then Ringo and Paul were able to finish the Grammy. And AI is here to stay, like whether you like it or
Yep.
not. And so what we need in the music community are examples of how to use AI
Correctly.
successfully and ethically
Yep.
in music. And for me, this is the perfect example of that. So I
Yep.
think that's a dub for the Grammys right there.
Yep. No, I agree. I think it was another cool moment of the Grammys. It's so interesting with AI. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on AI going forward. Obviously, I know Kanye talked about it this week. I believe
Yeah.
came on the mic, talked about it. Similar parallels to auto tune. He said, you know, in the sense of like
Mhm.
people weren't super accepting about it, and now, you know, it's kind of coming on the scene and kind of getting the same attention, bad attention, if you will. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on AI.
It's very tricky. I mean, it's very tricky in anything. Like it, I think the main concern is one, making sure that it is like it has the green light from the artist.
Yeah,
You don't want to use it like posthumously in like a
yeah, weird way.
kind of a weird way. That's one thing. The other thing is for some reason people think it's just less authentic. Kind of in the same vein of how Kanye was talking about autotune.
Yep.
People used to think, well, autotune's like cheating. Like
Yeah.
you shouldn't be able to make music if you don't have pitch perfect
Yeah.
vocals,
Voice. Yeah.
But now it's totally acceptable. So I understand what Kanye is saying, but it is very very tricky. But I think used as a production tool, I think I mean, like I said, it's here to stay, whether you like it or not. And so
Yep.
we need to just figure out a way to use it in a way that we all deem acceptable. And how he was outlining it in that interview with Justin LeBoy this week is they were using it in production as a tool to either isolate vocals. So you can just take the vocals right out, strip them, and use them as a sample, loop them however you want, or just taking the beat out of an older song or the
Yeah.
production or the instrumentation, just stripping it and then using that as a sample. Like, is it really any different than how we already are sampling stuff? It just kind of
Yeah.
makes it easier. So it's very tricky. I understand that, and I am wary of the negative effects, but
Yeah.
there are going to be positive effects. And like I said, it's here whether we like it or not. So we just need to figure out how to leave the negative and embrace the positive, which is hard as a society to do.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I like what you said. I think you bring up some really great points, especially with post homie. Yeah, I'm never gonna say that right. Um, you know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, you know, like if they were to drop a fully AI generated Mac Miller album, like I would hate
Right.
that, right?
Yeah,
Like
that'd be
I would
horrible.
not that
Yeah.
would not feel right He would never have any say on it, or any artist that has passed. I think that's where you kind of walk the line of ethics, and I don't love that idea. But like you
Or
were
even an
talking,
artist that hasn't passed, like how
yeah,
Drake took the Snoop
yeah,
Dogg
yeah.
AI, like that's crazy. That's such a crazy thing to do, and I can't believe he did it still.
Yeah, no, that's a really good example, and one I was gonna bring up too, like, with, Tupac and Snoop Dogg, like, Snoop Dogg's still alive, you don't even, like, ask him if this is okay, or,
Yeah, that's
like,
wild, right?
I don't know, it's just kinda weird, but when it comes to sampling and that thing, like, if it's more accessible for, producers, like, we could see producers who don't have sampling tools readily available for them, accessing AI and being able to create these extremely, insane production like that'd be awesome, right? So I agree with you. I think there's some really great potential with it. I just think we haven't tapped into that potential yet, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm hoping that it goes in a positive direction.
Yeah, you can only hope. It's a little scary.
Yeah. Okay, any other dubs before we go to snubs? No.
Snubs it is, yeah.
Snubs it is. What is your first snub?
My first snub, it has to go to Billie Eilish.
Yep.
She had 7
God dang it,
nominations,
man. You got, like, the
and
same list as me.
I think, like, honestly, that is just a testament to this year's Grammys.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's pretty obvious. Like, the dubs and the snubs are pretty obvious.
Yep.
Um, her album was really, really good, and with 7 noms, you would think she would go home with something,
Yeah,
and she went home
exactly.
empty-handed, which is kind of a bummer. You could tell it was affecting her as the night went on, and then the album of the year, Lost, kinda capped it off, and she was a little teary-eyed on camera, and you gotta feel bad for her because that was a really good album,
It
and
was.
it's worthy of something.
Yep. I agree. No, I think the vocals on that album were really well done. She works incredibly hard. Any interview you see with her or behind the scenes scenes with her, like she's perfecting her art and her craft. And I have a lot of respect for how she approaches music. And so to see her win like absolutely nothing, I felt really bad for her just because, like you said, it's really great work. I think it was a really competitive field in a lot of
It
ways.
was, yeah.
And so it's tough to see somebody who works really hard like she does to not come home with anything at all. And that was also my first snub. So Billie Eilish is going to continue to grow. She's going to continue to bring out high quality music. So I don't think this is the end for her. I don't think that this will like affect her career negatively. If anything, I could see
No, not at
somebody
all.
like Billie Eilish just getting better from this and getting hungrier to make better music. And so I know there's a good future for Billie Eilish, and unfortunately she didn't come away with anything, but I know the future is bright for her. So
My next snub is Taylor Swift,
ooh, okay.
which might be a little shocking because I've been vocal. Like, I am a Taylor Swift fan, but I've been vocal that I do think Tortured Poets Department is her worst
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not so much as a snub as it is just like she took an L. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I hear what you're
it
saying.
just more than anything, it was shocking that she didn't go home with anything. But I'm really not that mad at it because, like you said, 2024 was one of the best years in pop music in recent memory, and so something like Tortured Poets Department shouldn't be winning over these incredible albums that these other artists put out. So that's just my opinion. But I guess it's not so much a snub, but maybe it works for the category.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Second snub for me, I was glad to see Beyonce win, album of the year and country album of the year and that kind of thing. But I do think Chris Stapleton probably, in my opinion, had the best country album.
That's
So
valid.
I'm gonna go snub there. Chris Stapleton is another guy, in my opinion, who works very hard, brings out high quality music, and I thought his vocals were extremely touching on that album, and so that's my second snub there.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah, that's honestly a much better pick than my second snub. So I agree with you. But my third snub will go to another artist nominated in the country category, Post Malone, the most
Ooh,
nominations of this year with 8.
yeah,
didn't go home with anything. And it's hard because you never know how people are going to react when an artist switches up the genre that they're in and releases something
Totally.
different. And so sometimes people get really, really praised for it, a la Beyonce.
Yeah.
And sometimes people kind of, I don't
Don't
know,
really know how to feel.
they don't
Yeah.
know how to feel. And even worse, like they kind of dunk on them for trying something new. But I thought it was a good album. I know a lot of people didn't like it. Maybe it's just because I listen to country music, and so for me, I'm like, "Hey, this is cool. This is Post
Yeah.
Malone. It's a
It's
country
cool.
album,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah, yeah.
Post Malone." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I thought he excuse me. I thought he did a great job with the features on the album. You know, he's
Yep.
got some country legends on there,
Yep.
and he kinda let them do their thing, and he worked around their sound. And for me, that's what makes a successful venture into a new genre is embracing that genre, not trying to mold your style to fit that genre, but instead embracing that genre and letting it take over yourself.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always going to be that Post Malone influence, just mixed in there. And so for me, that's why I thought it was really cool. And I'm shocked it did not win any out of its 8 nominations.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it was a experiment, like you said. I don't think it's an experiment gone wrong by any means. I know a lot of people are coming out and saying like, "Oh, I don't know how to feel about this. This is weird." Blah 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 blah. And then somebody like Beyonce is getting praise, which is I don't know, kind of two sided. Just because I feel like they're both high quality albums, but yeah, I mean, it's always a risk, you know,
Mhm.
trying a different genre. And Post Malone has continued to evolve himself, which I respect a lot because I feel like he's somebody in the sense that like you don't know what you're getting out of his next album. You don't know if it's going to be country, you don't know
Yeah.
if it's going to be rap, you don't know if it's going to be, more pop or R&B. He has so many avenues he can go down and he's so talented. So to see him get nothing, I can totally understand why you think that's a snub for sure.
Let me ask you this before we move to your last snub.
Yeah.
What's your favorite version of Post Malone so far?
I think people are going to disagree with me, and I'm okay with that. I actually love when Post Malone first came out. Like, I'm talking White Iverson. Like that is my favorite Post Malone that I've heard. That kind of style of
That's definitely his best album, right? Stony?
yeah, yeah. So
It
I
is.
I just feel like that style that he had it just felt so I don't know if authentic is the right word, but like I don't know, his energy and his passion and his voice, I felt like was so there. That's probably my favorite style, but I do love me a vulnerable Post Malone. Like I love when he, kind of gets more emotional. I feel like he can do that
Yeah.
really well too. So,
He's a really
um,
authentic guy.
yeah,
Like, just hearing him on different podcasts, and I
yeah,
see a lot of different videos, because I live in Utah and he also lives in Utah. Like, people just, like, meet him in downtown Salt Lake sometimes, and, like, just last week, I saw a video that he went to Pizza Hut in
yeah,
Salt Lake, or some pizza place, and he went a little early and gave the worker there, like, a
yeah, yeah.
$1,000 tip.
That's
Like,
awesome.
it's just,
Yeah,
like, a really nice guy. He's always being super generous with his time and his money, and so
yeah.
he's just a cool dude, and I'd have to say my favorite version is actually the country version.
Oh,
Like,
okay,
I'm
okay.
talking aesthetic. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
Stoney's my favorite album, but dude, he just looks so cool in boots and a cowboy hat.
Yeah, he
I don't
does.
know, he just does.
Well, and actually, like, that's what he first started out to try to be as a country artist, so I
Yeah,
think
yeah, he's
it
from
makes
Texas.
sense, like, that he's going back to those roots for sure. Alright, my last snub, and I don't know if this counts, but I'm still gonna do
It
it
counts.
anyways.
I put Taylor Swift in there.
I'm gonna say I think it's a snub that Y Laud had one R&B progressive album, but
Yeah,
there's not a single nominee for any of the songs on there. I think there should be at least one nominee for some sort of song on there. I think there's way too good of work on there. Obviously, the people agree, and there's not one nominee, so I definitely think that was a snub.
Yeah, that's a good pick. As you know, my favorite album of 2024. So
Yep.
I'm with you. It should have won every single Grammy.
All right. All right. What was your favorite performance on the night?
My favorite performance probably has to go to Charlie XCX at
Okay.
the end there. She came with a ton of energy and just was her authentic self, which I think reflects the Brat album. Before she was making this more commercialized style of music that her label really wanted her to.
Yep.
And then ironically, on Brat, she was able to have complete freedom, make whatever type of music she wants, and now it is her most commercially successful album. Brat Summer, it took over.
Yeah.
It's just like it was a phenomenon, and so I really loved that performance because I felt like it kind of encapsulated that energy that you feel
Yeah.
on Brat, where it's like, hey, this is me, this is myself, like this is just who I am, and this is the type of music I want to make because
Yep.
I like to go and dance at the club, and so I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. My favorite performance on the night. Ooh, there was quite a few good ones, honestly. I still think I'm gonna go with Doechii. I don't know. Her performance was just incredible to me. I know I might have some hip hop bias there, but I genuinely thought she was super engaging with the crowd. I thought her wardrobe changes were incredible. I don't know, just the way she was able to coordinate and choreograph that performance was super
Yeah,
well. And
she went like 150%
yeah,
effort, right?
her passion was just crazy. Her
Yeah,
energy was crazy, and I loved it. I thought it was like I said, I thought it was cherry on top for her night. So,
I'm with you. You could tell she just was really happy to be there.
yep,
Like, it's really cool when an artist shows, like, how much they
yeah,
actually care about winning an award. Like, everybody was, like, really stoked when Joel Embiid was like, "No, I wanna win the MVP this year." Like,
yeah,
he was just being vocal about it. I think it's cool when an artist does that too. Like,
yeah,
they just show,
definitely.
yeah, like, I'm at the Grammys right now, like,
Yep,
I never thought I was gonna be here, and here I am, and I'm gonna enjoy every single second of
yeah,
it, and she even released nosebleeds after the Grammys as a victory lap,
yeah.
and it very cool performance, I agree.
All right. Speech of the night.
Speech of the night, huh? It's gotta go to Chapel Roan, right?
Yeah,
She opened up that little booklet of hers and, argued and pleaded with record labels to give their artists more money, to give them healthcare even,
yeah,
and, the bottom line is just to treat their artists better, which I agree with. They should be treated better. They are like the label's most valuable assets, right? And so the label doesn't make any money if the artist isn't putting out good stuff, and they're not going to put out good stuff if they're feeling uncomfortable or if obviously they don't have enough money to live comfortably. So I think artists definitely deserve more money, and it was pretty amazing for an artist to say that on the Grammy stage. So I think Chapel Roan definitely has speech of the night for me.
yeah. This is a boring show, I guess, because we have the same shit every time. Anyways, no, but I agree. I think not only what you said, but I also think for somebody at their first Grammys to, they have every opportunity to talk about whatever they want. They could talk about their journey. They could talk about, everything they've gone through to get to that night. And she chose to, use it as her stage to empower other artists, which I think is super cool and something that we don't see very often. A lot of people when they win their first Grammy, it's, thank the family, maybe thank God, maybe thank, the producers, everyone that's around them. And I'm not saying that she didn't do that, but she also took the moment to, you know, have a message, which is super, super touching. It's super cool, kind of being that activist for artists. And you don't really hear about it a whole lot, right? Like we don't really hear about the troubles that they go through as an artist under a label. So for her to speak up about that and speak her mind, I think is kind of cool and shows a lot about her character as an artist. So that's why I gave speech of the night, is because she had every opportunity to talk about herself and she chose to talk about others, which is really, really touching.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. Should we play some Hall of Fame?
Let's play some Hall of Fame, brother.
Hall of Fame. So for those who don't know how this works, I give hip hop artist to whoever we have on. So tonight we have Honeybee Reviews on. I asked them if they are in the Hall of Fame yet today, as of today, if they are
Okay.
in the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. I'm sure there is a Hip Hop Hall of Fame somewhere, but to my knowledge, there's no, Canton, Ohio inductee ceremony. So starting first, heavy hitter Joey Badass.
No.
No, why?
He unfortunately hasn't done enough.
Yeah.
Uh, he's got one of the greatest mixtapes of all time,
Yep.
and he's released some really good work after that. I just don't know if that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's close. Just because of the accolade of, arguably one of the best mixtapes of all time, like you said. And, he's released some really great work after that. But like you said, has there been enough? I don't think so. I don't think there's, besides 1999, has there been another album where you're like, wow, that's one of the best albums of all time? I don't think so.
No,
So I
and
agree.
here's kind of an indicator about that. Just like a month ago, Joey Badass released this YouTube only
Yep.
verse, right, where he is in a way responding to Kendrick saying, "Yeah, like I'm here, I'm with you. Hip hop's competition, and I'm right here with you." It kind of came and went. Like people aren't
Exactly.
talking about it anymore.
Yep. He's
Kendrick
just
obviously didn't even sniff
yeah.
it, so it's like,
He doesn't even have that yeah, he doesn't have the influence that a lot of the bigger artists have. Great artists, very, very, very talented, and another artist who I'm excited to see what he does in future, but as of now, I agree. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame. A$AP Rocky. I know. This one's tough. This
I'm gonna
one's
say
really tough.
yes.
Yes,
I'm gonna
okay.
say yes because he was highly influential in the cloud rap space
Yep.
that kind of, made room for a lot of the artists that you hear today. Like there probably wouldn't be a successful Travis Scott without ASAP
True.
Rocky. There wouldn't be a successful Lil Uzi Vert, any of those artists. And then on top of that, what maybe puts it over the edge, besides obviously he has a few classic hip hop albums, in my opinion,
Yeah.
the thing that really puts it over the edge is that he has some of the best music videos of all time to
True.
add to his resume too, which is kind of a slept on, category when you're thinking of something like this. But I think it helps round him out as an artist, and it just every little bit contributes to the resume for the Hall of Fame inductee. So I say yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think, I'm also with you. I think it's yes. The influence I think is definitely there. We just talked about Joey Badass, not trying to knock on Joey Badass a lot, but like here's the comparison, right? Like Joey Badass is like what would you say like has he influenced hip hop in the way that A$AP Rocky has? I would say no.
No, he hasn't.
And like that's not like I'm not like dissing on Joey Badass for
Right.
not doing that, but in terms of influence, in terms of like hip hop, who should be in the Hall of Fame, we're talking about pioneers, people who have really changed the landscape of hip hop. And I think A$AP is one of those people. He came during a time where, hip hop was evolving, there's genres that were emerging, and A$AP Rocky helped create, I believe he helped create a lot of those subgenres and kind
Yeah,
of make
absolutely.
most of a more of a blend between R&B and hip hop. So I think I agree. His influence is insane. I think he has some really, really incredible work, some great albums. I think, he's somebody though, if he doesn't release something soon, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's out of Hall of Fame. I don't know.
Yeah, I do agree that he's like borderline.
Yeah.
And just based off of influence, I'm giving him the nod, but
Yep.
it's not like a he's for sure in. There's
Yeah.
gonna be people that say
Confirmed.
no,
Yeah.
so,
Definitely. Definitely. Kid Cudi.
um, oh, man, that's hard.
That yeah. I'm giving
That
you
is
tough ones today. I'm
you're
giving you
making
tough
it tough
ones.
on me because he is similar to ASAP Rocky in the
Yep.
way that he has influenced hip hop,
definitely.
Not so much the soundscape as A$AP Rocky has, I don't think, but just in terms of I don't know how else to describe it, but, like, kinda the emo rap genre, like
Yeah, yeah. I know what you're saying. Yep,
XXXTentacion, Lil Uzi Vert, like, kinda sad boy hip hop.
yep.
Um, he definitely was I'm gonna say yes, because for that reason, and also just for the fact that he made it really cool to talk about your mental health in hip hop.
Totally. Yep.
And so that's something that wasn't as common before. And so I'm gonna say yes, but it's really close, especially because his later work has not been great or up to par, to his previous work.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say yes, but barely.
Yeah, this one might be the toughest one yet. I mean, I'm a huge Kid Cudi fan. Like, growing up, like he was one of the artists that I loved. Like, I just thought like what he talked about was so different than the other hip hop artists, right?
Yeah,
He has a lot of influence, especially in his early stuff. I think what's tough about Kid Cudi and what you kind of just mentioned is I feel like he isn't somebody who I feel like is continually getting better. If anything, I felt like his albums have unfortunately a little bit regressed. Now, that's not to say, I thought um Man on the Moon 3, I thought that was an incredible album. I thought that was really
yeah,
good. Of his newer work, I thought that's probably some of his best work compared to some of his newest. However, like his last album, it was okay. And so I think it's tough because he had early success early on, and now it's kind of just average or
yeah,
mediocre, unfortunately. So it's kind of one of those people that's riding on that high of his beginnings, but his beginnings were so freaking strong. It's hard not to put him in. But
yeah.
I think he's somebody who I don't know, he kinda reminds me in ways, not completely, but, like, if we're comparing this to sports, like, that's what I'm supposed to do here on this podcast, right? Because I talk about both. Like, he kinda reminds me of, like, Aaron Rodgers in a sense. Like, super,
Yeah.
super great early on, had some really, really incredible work at the beginning and, super great start to the career, and now it's like, what's happening, you know?
I'm
Um,
kinda with you on that,
not
and,
not
like
as dramatic as a fall, but, I still think the fall was there.
but to your point, comparing him to Aaron Rodgers, it's kinda like, what did Aaron Rodgers do,
Yeah,
like, that set him apart from everybody else? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, he had a pretty big arm, but he couldn't run.
Yep.
His
He has
mental's
1
really
Super
not
Bowl.
that
Yep.
strong. Like, did he maybe just have Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams that whole time?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Kid
Yep.
Cudi kinda was, with Kanye and,
Yeah.
with
So
good
I'm gonna
music
say
a little
no.
bit?
I
Okay.
and that hurts me to say because I am a huge Kid Cudi advocate. Like I said, I love his older work, but I think we are still riding on the high of his beginnings, but I
That's
think
fair.
the ending
I
is
agree with
what's
you.
keeping him out.
I agree with you.
If he had kept that momentum throughout his career, absolutely yes. His influence, everything you talked about, absolutely yes. But because of the ending, I'm gonna go with no.
The one thing I will say is that in, looking back on his previous work, it it continues to not only stand the test of time, but
True.
people are liking it more. Like, even
Yeah.
Speeding Bullet to Heaven, like, Kid Cudi did do something that not many hip hop artists have done. He
Yeah.
obviously didn't invent it, but he really incorporated the rock genre with
True.
hip hop, and
True.
so, he wasn't so influential in creating the sound, but kinda pushing it forward, he was,
Yeah.
so, I don't know. For me,
No,
he
I
gets
like it.
in,
I
but
love I
barely.
love the take on, giving him his credit. Like I love it. I think there's a total argument for it. And that's why we're doing this, right? So,
That's what makes it fun. Yeah.
yep. All right, Freddie Gibbs.
No. No. I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Um, but I love Freddie Gibbs.
Yeah.
I love my man Freddie Gibbs, even though he put me on blast on Twitter one time. I do love
Wait,
him.
seriously?
He did, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this.
Um,
What do you blast you for?
I can't remember. I think I called him bald or something. He quote tweeted me. I have it saved. Uh, let me look it up while I give you my reasoning here. I might have added it to my favorite in my photo albums. The reason I'm gonna say no is because The Alchemist is in the Hall of Fame. And so Alfredo, The Alchemist is just as much to give credit for that album as Freddie Gibbs is.
Yep.
Madlib is in the Hall of Fame. So the collaborations with Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, you have to say, okay,
Interesting. Okay.
like it kind of goes back to, for the sports
Yeah.
analogy, it's like maybe
He's not as good
Madlib and The
without
Alchemist are Michael Jordan, and maybe Freddie Gibbs is Scottie
Mhm.
Pippen, which it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, Scottie Pippen is in the Hall of Fame, so I don't know, maybe I'm just talking myself in circles here. Maybe he does deserve it, but I'm not saying he got carried, just like Michael didn't carry Scottie.
Yeah.
Michael needed Scottie in order
Yeah.
to win as much as he
Hmm.
did, but Michael could have won some without Scottie.
Yeah, I see what you're
Scottie
saying.
could not have won any without Michael. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, 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 I like that.
So that's my
I love the
argument.
comparisons here. This
That's
is
my
getting good.
argument, but I don't know. I love Freddie, so if you tell me he is in the Hall of Fame, I'm gonna be happy.
I think I was going to say yes, and I think you just convinced me otherwise because I think that's a really good point and something not a lot of people bring up. I do think with his music, it feels like a lot of times, like when it's really good work, it's because the production's so great,
It's not
right?
his solo work, right? That
No, it's
people
not his
are
solo
loving
work.
so much. So
Yeah. No, I really like that take. That's a good one.
I can't find the tweet where you put me on blast. I'm gonna find it and send it to you though.
We're gonna go a different direction. Gucci
Okay.
Mane.
Oh, I want to say no. I know that in the trap
Yeah.
genre, he was obviously so influential,
Yep.
but a lot of times it's not the person that did it first that gets in. It's the person that perfected it after the
Totally.
person that did it first. So for me, I'm gonna say no because his music, I mean, it's just not as good as it's some
Some of
of
the
the
other
other
trap artists,
trap,
yeah.
legends. So for me, I'm gonna say no. What do you say?
I'm also gonna say no, and I'm glad you said no because I agree with you. I don't think his work is like the highest quality. I don't think he's the best trap artist that we've ever seen. Obviously, the influence is there. Obviously, he helped pioneer a trap genre that wasn't really there before. But I agree with you. I don't think it's, the best. I don't think just because he came from one of the first, it means that he should automatically be in the Hall of Fame, right? Like the person who first started shooting threes is probably not in the Hall of Fame, right? Like
Right.
now we get Stephen Curry, right? Like we just keep doing this sports analogy stuff, but I think that's a
Yeah.
good comparison, right? Like I agree with you. I like it.
All right. Let's keep it moving.
Let's keep it moving. I'm trying to give a different direction. Let's go with a really interesting one. Somebody who's really known for his features, but in solo work's not great. Rick
Okay.
Ross.
Hmm. Rick Ross. Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
You can't get in based off of features, even if you are one of the best feature artists of all time. You just
Yeah.
can't.
No, I
His
agree.
solo work isn't there, and so I'm gonna say no. But shout out Rick Ross. Shout
Yeah,
out all them pairs.
yeah. Rick Ross feels like a Shane Battier on like a Heat team, right? Like somebody
Yeah.
who you can rely on when you need him, right? Like
Yep.
or like a JJ Redick, right? Like somebody if you need a 3 in the clutch, you're going to him. If you need somebody who to feature on an album, you're going to him and he'll probably deliver. But in terms of like solo artistry, in terms of like when I'm thinking of a Hall of Fame, I'm thinking of somebody who can do it solo. They can do it as a duo. They're
Yeah.
super influential. I don't think Rick Ross has any of that. I
Yeah.
think, one of the best feature artists, as you said, but in terms of solo work, not really there. And solo work isn't the only factor. Obviously, like, we have a guy like Andre 3000, who I'm sure both of us agree is in the Hall of Fame, very solidified, right? And he never had a solo album besides his flute. album that got nominated for a Grammy, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not saying solo work's the only factor here, but I do think it can play some sort of factor.
Yeah, absolutely. It should. I mean, yeah, I'm with you. We're on the same page there.
Okay. Okay. Now I got to think of names. Cardi B. This one might be too easy. Yeah.
No, an Invasion of Privacy should not have won Rap Album of the Year.
Ooh. Okay. No, I agree with you. I'm just stirring the pot here.
That's what you have to do. I mean, you're the podcast host. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got to
Gotta
stir
stir
the
the
pot.
pot. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I don't think has she even released an album since then?
No, I don't think so.
It's just nuts, right? Like we're in 2024 now, and you
That's
haven't
true.
even released a follow up to a Grammy-winning album. Like,
That's just
yes,
makes
you've done a ton of singles, and you've had a lot of success with that.
Yeah.
And in terms of influence within the female hip hop artists, I think she has a ton of influence there. But again, one album is not going to let you ride to the Hall of Fame. Russell Wilson. Well, we'll bring another sports analogy, right? Like one Super Bowl is not gonna get you in the Hall of Fame. You gotta do a little bit more. So
Yeah. Yeah. Good analogy.
this one might also be too easy. Lupe Fiasco.
Yeah, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, one of the best lyricists of all time, if not the best. He has classic albums. He's got good features, and contrary to the point about Kid Cudi, he is still releasing good music, really,
Yeah.
really good, high quality stuff, conceptual, all of it. He's a very impressive artist that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. His lyrical work alone, I think, speaks for itself. And I think in terms of influence of just lyrical work, like that's huge. Like I think he continues to inspire people to just be conceptual and bring the creativity, and he always brings something new, as we saw with Samurai in his last album, right? So
Yeah.
I think he just continues to evolve himself even into his later years. So I agree with you. I think he just continues to get better and continues to bring out creative stuff. So I like that take. Chief Keef.
Yes. Chief Keef, yes. See, this goes back to our Gucci Mane point.
Yep.
Chief Keef was a very early pioneer in the trap genre. He
Yep.
wasn't the first to ever do it,
Yep.
but he may have been the first to perfect it.
Ray Allen. We talked about threes. Ray Allen.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is the Ray Allen, and, there are trap artists that have passed Ray Allen's 3-point
Yeah.
record since, but he still is making pretty good music. His album last year was good. And he's also still young. Like, he still
Yeah.
has a lot of career ahead of him. And so, as of right now, I'm going to say yes, unless he plays his way out of the Hall of Fame somehow.
Yeah. Falls
But
off.
I don't really think so. I
Yeah.
don't think it is really even possible. Like, even if he released like 2 albums that sucked, I think he probably still would be in, just for what he did moving the trap genre forward and shaping hip hop how it is today. He deserves it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also in on Chief Keef. I think his influence, like you said, I think it just propelled the trap genre to what it is today. I also think he also brought it to like more of a mainstream level, more of a, like club bangers. Like you still hear Chief Keef stuff all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
it's highly influential. People love Chief Keef's work, and there's a reason for that because it's high quality. And I think I'll be curious to see how his career evolves. But I think as of now, yes, he's done enough, and honestly doesn't get talked about
He
enough, in my
doesn't.
opinion.
He doesn't. And I wish that he would, um, I don't know, evolve his sound a little bit. It it still kind of sounds like he is making a similar type of album since when he
Yeah,
started with Finally Rich. But that just also kind of serves as a testament to how ahead of its time Finally Rich was.
yeah,
So I don't know. But I do think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and he will be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm with you.
All right, I got a heater for our last one.
All
Tyler,
right.
the Creator.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and here's why. He is the epitome of an artist evolving with each new album and each era. Each album, each era is different. His albums are highly conceptual, which is really cool. He, you know what? Like, as a producer, he might deserve to be in the Hall of Fame alone, just as a producer, because he is doing stuff that other artists aren't doing. And then, not to mention, he raps on top of it himself. Like, he does it all. And so I'm going to say yes, especially because the 2020s, I mean, Tyler the Creator defines the 2020s, right? And in just the 2020s alone, we have
Yep.
Call Me If You Get Lost and Chromacopia, right? Igor was 2019. So
Yep.
that doesn't count. But those two albums, I mean, they kind of, in a way, define hip hop in the 2020s, as far as I can tell so far. They've been some of the biggest mainstream hits, and I think it's well deserved because it's really, really good.
Yeah. No, I think it's Tyler's such an interesting one, right? Because we talk about evolutions with artists all the time, and I've talked about this a lot on my podcast. And his evolution is to be studied, right? Like coming out, shock rap, almost
Yeah,
like an Eminem figure, and now he's one of the most respected hip hop artists in the game right now. I know people who don't even really like hip hop, but they do like Tyler the Creator. He's one
right.
of those people, and he continues to evolve in sound in the way that Post Malone would, right? He brings so many different genres. He experiments both production wise as well as an artist. I think that's another underrated thing when we're talking about Hall of Fame. Are you not only able to be an artist, but are you also able to be a producer, right? And he is
Yeah,
one of the best producers in the game right
he
now. And
is.
that's
Yeah,
that's across, we're talking like just producers or, artist producer. I'm talking everyone. Like he is one of the best producers in my opinion. He's one of the best people in my opinion of coming up with the concept, sticking with it throughout an album and making sure that it's listenable.
yeah,
You can talk about concepts all
yeah,
day, right? There could be some really cool concepts, but if you're not able to deliver it and have it resonate with people and have it be listenable and be at a mainstream level or maybe speak to your underground hip hop fans, it's not gonna get the recognition it deserves. And Tyler's kind of perfected that craft in the sense of delivering a message but also making it a big freaking bop, right?
yeah.
So I think Tyler's one of the best in the game when it comes to that. His influence too, talk about influence, I think blending genres. Another guy that I think
Yeah.
continues to blend genres and needs a lot of credit for that. I think Tyler doesn't have the best voice. We all know that. But
Right.
he's singing,
Yeah,
right?
he
Like
is.
he is singing
And
and
it sounds good.
it sounds good. He makes it sound good.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people who have credit for that, but I think he's one of them. I think he needs credit for kind of get setting the way or laying the groundwork for, you don't have to be the best singer, but you can still make it sound good. And
Yeah.
I think his feature selection too,
Yeah.
talk about having those people around you. He's a good GM. He's a good
He
NBA
is,
GM.
yeah.
He knows who to put around him to make the best out of his artists, which is another underrated skill in in music in general. So I think
Yeah.
Tyler definitely deserves to be in. And another guy who I feel like is just getting started, right? Like
Yeah.
it's awesome. We're
Yeah,
gonna have great
he
music from him for
to your
years to come.
point, he is one of the best collaborators in
Yep.
music, and he's able to walk that thin line of making an album that does crazy numbers, but has a lot of depth to it as well. And so to your point, like, he had a YB feature on
Yeah.
Call Me If You Get Lost, and everybody in the world was
It
singing it,
hit, man. It freaking hit.
everyone in the like, YB is not for everybody.
No, not at
NBA
all.
YoungBoy is not for everybody, but it was cool, man. Like, that just is a
Yeah.
testament to his ear as a tastemaker, knowing which artists he can get the most out of with just his style of production, or whatever the song. And that's a really cool skill. So he's a very, very talented artist. That
Yeah.
much is obvious.
In ways, he reminds me of like a modern Kanye, if you
Yeah.
will.
Not
In
yeah,
ways, not
absolutely.
obviously, Kanye's his own um being or artist or animal, if you will, right? Like he's his own thing, but like in ways he reminds me of Kanye in terms of the way he collaborates with other artists, in
Yeah.
terms of the way he looks at music in general. It feels like Tyler is one of those people who is always one step ahead of the rest. Like he's
Yeah,
always
for
that
sure.
person that's kind of like that trendsetter, and I feel like
Mhm.
that's Tyler. So, all right, man. Anything else for the pod?
No, I got nothing. That was a great pod, in my
Yeah, it was
opinion.
fun, man. It was fun. I love the Hall of Fame segment. I love talking Grammys with you. As always, it's always fun to have you on, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. You've got me here anytime you want because I love coming on with you. So it's always a good time.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming on. As always, folks, stay logical and rant that nonsense.
Yes, sir.